Hey everyone, my name is Jesus Burgoa, but you can call me JR, and I'm the founder and CEO of Social Market, and this is the Social Ledger Report.
Cool. I'm excited to do this again. Episode 2. And it's been a super crazy week. Like we kind of went through the
Yep.
news and had to thin it out, pick what was the big one. So there's a few. I think the what do you want to talk about first? I think Circle.
Yeah, so like you said, we have a lot of stuff to cover. Right now, I think what might be the biggest story is Circle having an IPO. So, let me share my screen here for a moment. So you go anywhere on Twitter, we're still calling it Twitter, and you're gonna see that Circle has made so much buzz since like Monday, even before April Fools, that it was going to have its IPO. Now, for those of you who don't know, it's having its second IPO. I believe it
Well,
was
a second IPO
2022
attempt.
attempt. That's right. So, yeah, it's very important to clarify. I think in 2022 is when it tried to initially IPO. Correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but it failed. So
Yeah,
now,
so it was a reverse. It was they were going to do it via a SPAC, like a reverse merger, where they're just going to take a shell company and go public. Though the issue was essentially the SEC just wasn't approving it in the timeline, so they abandoned that attempt.
yep,
This one's going to be much more of a true bona fide IPO, where like it says here, they've hired JPMorgan and Citi to do the actual like process to go public versus doing a SPAC or something. Like I kind of guess SPACs are not cool anymore.
right. So, yeah, I mean, it's having some very big accredited investor like JP Morgan or bank rather, that's very, there's nothing that could potentially not let this happen unless something major were to happen. Like, I don't know, God forbid something like FTX happens where, the investors or rather the founders were, you know, not to be trusted to say the least. But, as far as that goes, actually, we did have a very interesting post made here. Now, this was made on April 1st, so I'm not exactly sure, if this is real. Might be real. I mean, this looks legit, but you can see kind of like all their numbers, what their profit, their margins, what kind of revenue they're making, and how it's gone since 2022. And if you compare here at KPI data, what's highlighted in red, it shows no growth, but keep in mind that in 2022 and 2023, those were the years that crypto was falling off again. 2021 was the year that crypto just boomed the entire industry. Bitcoin hit the first all-time high of 75,000. And now we're seeing that the I'm guessing the KPI data are about the same between 2022 and 2024. So I think, there's a big appetite again for crypto, maybe because there's not as much regulation issues. There's going to be a lot more clarity on that. So, you know, that's what I think. But what do you think,
Yeah.
Leon?
So like I've looked at their numbers, and I think also a lot of people have kind of gone and did like deep dissections of this. Like
Mhm.
there's a bunch of stuff that's like happening in the right way for them. So I think Binance Pay is now going to have the default currency for all Binance Pay users in USDC. There's like a bunch of folks that are adopting the stablecoin as a path to actually transmit currency across borders. They're using it as wrappers to kind of get around fees that are out there on
Yep.
gas fees. The 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 problem that I see for them is it's going to be a crypto company that is public, and there's going to be a lot of pressure to make money and push that. Like they're pushing on there. Like investors are going to be pushing on them to make money. So you got the Euro one, the URC or URC.
Yep.
I could see them also doing other types of currency ones, like stable coins. Like there's a ton of them. Like I don't know if they would do it, but like a yen based one. There's
Yeah,
some
that's very
big
possible.
markets out there, like the Indian currency one. Now,
Yep.
those regulatory environments in China and India might prevent that, but there's going to be a lot of pressure on Circle to make sure that there's growth, make sure that they're expanding their market and that they're pushing hard. So a public offering here might not be the best path for them in the end. I'm a little
Mm.
concerned that they push. Now, a money raise is going to help them. Like maybe they need to have more in reserves. Like there might be some other sorts of things that this money raise is needed for. Supposedly, it's going to raise $750 million, and
Wow.
that again is like a huge like boost for them to either build additional assets to add to the reserves or to push more partnerships and development around there.
Yeah. So there is, being registered with or having an IPO means you have to register with the SEC in the US. And if you don't know, it looks like, getting any form of registration in the US is comparatively harder than anywhere else in the world. So if you are able to successfully get registered in the SEC in the US, you're pretty much set to be able to comply worldwide with any regulation. Now, you did bring a good point. China and India are very different. They are part of BRICS or the,
Yeah.
unified effort at separating or creating their own currency that will beat the dollar. So I'm pretty sure any nation that is part of BRICS would make it not as easy for a, you know, American or a West company or even, any new form of modern currency company or asset to overtake what they're doing. So I think Circle is a great company. I think the USDC, which is widely used, and then URC, which is the new currency for Europe, similar to what USDC is doing, you know, I think the best approach that Circle can do is to just keep minting these new stable coins to effectively accelerate the global economy, move it from paper money to digital money. So,
Yeah, the part though that's interesting and that they're gonna have to contend with too is like these tariffs just kind of cratered the U.S. dollars, and so generally like, and I'm not a perfect person on this, and I've just been reading a bunch about it. Is normally when you apply tariffs, the U.S. dollar is supposed to get stronger. That's like a long held belief. The U.S. dollar
yep,
dropped, so it's gotten weaker too. So like there is a risk too that USDC for them becomes less a reserve currency in the world, just as countries move away from the United States. Like Europe is threatening it. Like Russia, China, BRICS, all of these countries are threatening to kind of move away from the US dollar as a reserve currency of the world.
yep.
There could be some big financial risk for them too if the US dollar keeps getting weaker, and like all of those like microeconomic problems happen for them. So it's going to be an interesting path for them because public pressure on a publicly traded company means they're going to have their finances open, and they're going to have a lot of investor pressure.
I agree. So actually, while you're talking, I wanted to pull out some information about what kind of volume Circle has made. I believe last time I looked at it was right around the 2 billions. So right around that ballpark is how much Circle USDC traction was, which, to me, if I'm not mistaken, it's around 2 billion, then I think it's more than ready for an IPO.
Yeah.
There are so many instances where, well, there's been instances, not, I cannot name a particular one right now, but where a company is trying to fundraise or in the very least get an IPO or, you know, fundraise in a capacity, but they don't meet the KPIs, they don't meet the demand for it, and investors and accredited banks, they'll just pull away. So,
Yeah.
in
If
USDC's case, they're more than ready.
Yeah, if this goes well, though, it's going to be a signal for every crypto company that the market is ready for more crypto companies to go public. And that kind of ties into the Kraken stuff. Like, if Circle proves this out over the next, I'm not sure when they're going to go public. Like, I imagine maybe a Q3, Q4. I'm not sure how fast these things kind of happen. Like, sometimes I hear about them and then it's a year later. but there's also like other times I hear about it and it's like 2 months later they're about to hit the market. So
For sure.
I'm not sure how fast that they're gonna be able to kind of flow into being a public company.
Yeah, you have a good point. So I was able to find a very good link here. Business Wire is a pretty good media outlet. So this is some USDC momentum, and I'm not sure you can see it, but
Yeah,
just in 2024, there was over 20 trillion in transaction volume, and with a monthly transaction volume of about 1 million or 1 trillion.
1 trillion.
Can't talk there. Yeah, so we're talking trillions, and mind you, about 560 million people in the world own crypto. That's about 6.5% of the total global population. And we're already seeing, you know, numbers surpassing the trillions. So,
Yeah,
crypto
like
is here to
it's
stay.
it's huge. Like I
Super.
think, if this all goes well, like, Binance adopting as a stable coin, like Binance is a huge international exchange. Like I think it could go very far. And USDC, like right there, is empowering unbanked and underbanked populations. Like that's kind of interesting that I haven't actually thought about that. Because
Mhm.
a lot of other countries, developing countries, want to their people want to hold US dollars because oftentimes the currency in that country is just not stable. Look at Argentina. Like if you
Yep,
work with anybody in Argentina, they want to hold US dollars. There's a whole, there's a blue chip market that you can go, get currency exchanges in that country from US dollars to, the Argentinian dollars and back and forth because the regular markets are just so bad.
for sure.
No, I think it's going to be really interesting. I want it to go well because I want it to prove out the crypto market to a large extent, but I fear there's also a lot of like regulatory just like pressure that's going to come at some point. There's going to be a lot of investor pressure, and then they've got just the economics of the world happening right now on the US dollar. So they're going to have to move fast to like push out of just like the US dollar, like I would love to see more just of these stable coins from them, even like a Mexican peso, Canadian franc, like these I think would allow them to have more like surface area, and then also if you could
Yep.
like exchange it super easily, no currency exchange like crazy rate up hikes, like that would be really cool, especially because they're the ones building them.
Yeah, I mean, Mexico, people often regard it as a third world country or even a second world country, but no, it's very much a first world country, and based on their new political approach, it looks like it is going to be exponentially growing. The peso is probably going to become more relevant for trade, not just here in the US, assuming, the world doesn't end. The economic world doesn't end because of the tariffs and everything, but I digress. Like a stablecoin for the Mexican peso would be very huge.